Hi and welcome. My name is Tolan and I'm the co-founder of Productivity Me. In this video, we're going to look at using the undo and redo functions within Microsoft Excel. We'll look at both the quick access toolbar and the keyboard shortcuts of Control-Z and Control-Y in order to use these features in Excel. So if you're interested, let's get started. If you want to follow along, go ahead and open up exercise file 03.03. You can find a link to these in the description of our video where you'll be able to then download the file. So let's say that we have a kind of a simple example where maybe we have a company and they have 4 different seasons. Maybe it's a fashion company and they have revenues, costs, and profits. Now, when you're using Microsoft Excel, if you're human, you'll probably end up doing something that you wish you could undo, or maybe you'll undo something and you wish that you could do it again. So if this is the case, Microsoft Excel has 2 specific features that you might want to take a look at. The first is undo and the second is redo. So say that we were in Microsoft Excel and we wanted to delete these 3 or 4 values. Now, if I were to click here, I would highlight the whole row, and if I were then to hit delete, it would delete the label of revenue as well as these individual items. And maybe that's something that I didn't want to do. So I could go back and I could type revenue here, but there's a specific way to address it by using the undo function. Now, the undo function by default is part of your quick access toolbar. So if you go up here to the quick access toolbar, you notice the second icon here, we have save, and the second icon is what's called undo clear. So whatever we just did, in our case was clear, we'd be able to undo it by clicking this little icon here. Or let's say I do it again by hitting the delete key. If I wanted to undo it, I could also use the keyboard shortcut of Control-Z. So I'm going to use my keyboard and press Control and then Z. While I hit Control-Z, it would undo that. Now maybe I decide that I want to change all of these individual values to a red text. So we would go to the font color and we would click red. Now, maybe I want to undo that. If that was the case, I would either come up here and undo it, or I could use a keyboard shortcut Control-Z. Now, maybe I can't decide whether or not I like this individual range of cells with red text, rather than continuing and coming up here and then hitting Control-Z, coming up here, hitting Alt-Z. There's actually a second keyboard shortcut, that of Control-Y, or in the case of regular descriptions, it's that of redo. So redo would reapply that, undo would unapply that. Redo, undo, redo, undo. So again, I could use the keyboard shortcuts of, let's say that we make this yellow formatting or yellow fill. If we do Control-Z, it would undo, Control-Y would redo. Now, there are a couple of different applications for this. If you don't find undo and redo on your quick access toolbar and you wanted to put them there, you would click here on the right hand portion of your quick access toolbar, go to more commands, and then let's imagine these weren't here. You could go to popular commands, or you could go to a different section, and then we'll go look for, first we'll maybe do undo, and then we do undo. So we'd add that to our quick access toolbar, and then maybe redo. We can add it to our quick access toolbar. Once we've selected the items we want, we hit OK, and they would appear here. So again, in this video, it was a relatively simple comparison or a relatively simple lesson where we looked at doing some individual action like changing the font color and deciding we didn't want to do that by Control-Z or by coming up here, and then Control-Y or coming up here. So you can actually undo multiple actions. However, there are certain actions that you can't undo. So let's say that we had a new tab. I'm going to create a new worksheet or a new tab by clicking this little icon. And then let's put data in here. Now, this is something that we'll cover in a later lesson, but let's say that we were to delete this sheet here. If we go to delete, we'll get a prompt. And why do we get a prompt? Because deleting or modifying individual worksheets cannot be undone. So we might be removing some data. In this case, it would just be this individual word. But let's hit delete. Let's say, oh no, we didn't want to delete that sheet. If you hit Control-Z, you'll hear that default error message, which means you can't undo it. So there are a couple things you can't undo. You can't undo either creating a sheet, you can't undo it, or deleting a sheet, you can't undo it. There's lots of things that have to do with individual worksheets that you can't undo. But as long as you are working within the individual active sheet here, making changes or adding information, maybe we even add some values. If we want to undo that, we could either come up here or we could use the keyboard shortcut Control-Z, or this to redo, Control-Z to undo, Control-Y to redo. It's totally up to you. But in the next video, we're going to look at different ways to make a desired selection, essentially select individual cells or a group of cells so that you can then modify those cells in a way that's most useful to you. So if that's interesting to you, we'll see you in the next video. As always, thanks for watching.